Fellow Namibians, esteemed media houses, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It is indeed my distinct honor and privilege to have this opportunity this morning to provide an update and full account of what the Electoral Commission of Namibia has done since the official launch of the 2025 electoral calendar on the 25 June 2025 in preparation for the 2025 regional councils elections and the local authority elections scheduled to take place on the 26 November 2025. Before I start with my statement providing the update, let me focus on the legal framework within which the Commission conducts elections. The Namibian Constitution, read together with the Electoral Act number 5 of 2014, the Regional Councils Act number 2022 of 1992, and the Local Authorities Act number 23 of 1992 as amended, require the conduct of national elections. In other words, the presidential and the National Assembly elections and the regional councils and the local authority elections every 5 years. That means the national elections are conducted at a periodic intervals. That's the reason why we have the regional councils and the local authority elections this year. What is the significance of the regional councils and the local authority elections? Regional councils and the local authority elections are a local government system established to elect leaders to accelerate service delivery in terms of provision basic services such as water, housing, healthcare, education, food and nutrition, electricity, transport, and employment creation at the grassroots level. These governance systems serve as the link between the communities and the central government to accelerate socio-economic development at constituency and the local authority level. Hence, the regional council and the local authority elections to elect leaders for the voters to elect their leaders of their choice at constituency and the local authority level. I now move to unpack the electoral calendar. As we all are aware by now that the Electoral Commission of Namibia has developed and officially launched the electoral calendar on the 25 June 2025. The calendar serves as a roadmap outlining key electoral projects, key electoral activities, and the timelines. It also serves as a contract between the Commission and its electoral stakeholders, hence this update this morning. The calendar also serves as a yardstick that the Commission uses to measure the execution and progress of the scheduled electoral activities. At the end of the current electoral cycle, the Commission will have a review to reflect on the overall performance of the calendar. I now move to unpack the electoral calendar, and I focus on key electoral activities that the Commission has executed. 1. The stakeholder engagement. In preparation for the supplementary registration of voters that was conducted during the period of the 4th to the 19th August 2025, the Commission engaged electoral stakeholders, that means political parties, organizations and associations, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations, the media houses, offices, ministries and agencies during June and September 2025. Equally, the Commission also engaged electoral stakeholders, particularly the political parties, organizations, associations, and independent candidates, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations, the media, and the offices, ministries, and agencies between the period of September to November 2025, and this was made specifically in preparation for voting on the 24th and the 26th November 2025, as we are going to elaborate thereafter later. Engagements are fundamentally aimed, or such engagements are fundamentally aimed at consulting stakeholders. In this one, I single out the political party liaison committee members, of which the Commission is required to have regular engagement, and deliberation on the electoral related matters, and providing regular update on the execution of the electoral calendar as part of the Commission's commitment towards ensuring transparency and accountability towards our stakeholders. That's why we are updating our stakeholders at large today. 2, I now focus on the voter education. The Commission employed robust voter education campaigns across the country in preparation for polling, commencing from the 1st October, that will end on the 25th November 2025, a day before the polling day. The Commission used various platforms, include, amongst others, face-to-face education sessions by our voter education teams across the country, in all corners of our country, radio, televisions, social media, static and digital billboards, as well as stakeholder collaborations. In other words, we have also collaborated with other institutions to assist the Commission to deliver its mandate through voter education programs. As we approach polling day, being on last count of the days, we urge all electoral stakeholders to enhance voter education efforts to ensure that every registered voter is prepared well to exercise his or her fundamental rights to vote on the voting day. 3rd is the production and the release of the final voters register. The Commission produced and released the final voters register, and on the 24th October 2025, as we all know by now, and this was done in accordance with the electoral calendar. The final voters register will be used on special voting day, that is on the 24th November 2025, at specific polling stations established in all 120 constituencies and 59 local authorities. And this is specifically meant for polling officials and police officers deployed outside their constituency and local authorities within which they are registered, so that they are accorded the opportunity to vote on the 25th, on the day of deployment, so that on the day of the deployment, they would have been already casted their vote on the 24th. It will be also used on the main voting day, that is now the 26th November 2025, as we all now know, and it at all established polling stations in all 120 constituencies and 59 local authorities. The final voters register provides statistical breakdown, which include the following. 1, the total eligible voters, that stands at 1,670,813. Total registered voters, that stands at 1,499,449 registered voters, representing 90% of the total registered voters or eligible voters. Also break down the gender in terms of male. It outlines 600 or covers 691 and 80 registered voters in terms of male, representing 46.1%, and then the female 808, 419 registered voters that are female, representing 53.9%. It also covers the youth in the age of 18 to 35, and that represents 643,117 registered voters in terms of youth, representing 42.3%. It also covers a breakdown of persons with disabilities, standing at 22,245 registered voters, representing 1.4%. I now move to nomination of candidates. Nomination of candidates commenced on the 26th September 2025 and was concluded on the 14th October 2025 in respect of independent candidates, and 16 October 2025 as the final day of nomination by political parties and organizations and associations. As we all know, that this year's elections we will have political parties and independent candidates that will contest for the constituencies in the country, and then we have also political parties, organizations, associations, and and political parties that will contest for the local authority elections. The Commission, through the electoral and the referenda officer, on behalf of the returning officers, as you all are aware now by now, address the correspondence to the respective political parties, associations, and prospective candidates to urgently address the outstanding issues with a communication granting a final opportunity to effect corrections with the deadline for all rectifications via the PPCM portal being extended to Friday, 17 October 2025 at 1500 hours. The PPCM portal has been made accessible specifically to enable these requisite corrections to be effected from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock on the 17th, as I indicated already, October 2025. This stretched time frame was necessary to ensure the finality and integrity of the overall electoral process. The extension of the public sitting in some constituencies and the local authorities was necessary to allow some political parties, organizations, associations, and independent candidates to effect corrections on nominations submitted by 1100 hours by the last day of nomination, which is the 16th October 2025. And this was done in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. And we all know, as we already shared this with you earlier, in our earlier media statement that we have released. I also want to confirm that following the conclusion of the nomination, the Commission wishes to confirm that 120 out of 121 constituencies will be contested by various political parties, and associations, and independent candidates, and only one constituency, which is Mankupi constituency, that will not to be contested, as only one nomination was submitted. Hence, the candidate was declared duly elected in terms of the Electoral Act. Equally, we will also have all 59 local authorities contested by political parties, associations, and organizations. The next one is the production and delivery of the ballot papers. Yes, I'm fully aware we have already briefed you, but it is necessary to keep the nation abreast on this matter. The conclusion of the nomination of candidates paved the way for the design, production, and printing of the ballot papers, which commenced on the 20th October 2025 and completed on the 2nd November 2025 in Johannesburg, South Africa, as we all know by now. The ballot papers were delivered at Hosea Kutako International Airport on the 3rd November 2025, and that was followed by transportation to ECN logistics stores under escort of the Namibian police. The process of verification, allocation, and packing of the ballot papers also commenced from the 4th to the 13th November 2025 in the presence of the representatives of the political parties, organizations, associations, and independent candidates contesting in these elections. However, during the final stages of the internal distribution and quality control exercise, a few discrepancies in the supplied ballot papers were detected. During distribution and quality control checks, a few discrepancies were identified by the Commission in the presence of the political party representative, as I indicated earlier. On the 17th November 2025, the Commission updated the electoral stakeholders, including the political parties, organizations, associations, and independent candidates, the public, and the media on the decisive action taken by the Commission to have the ballot papers discrepancies rectified by the contracted supplier, which is Uniprint Global, a South African-based company. The Commission herewith informs the nation that overall discrepancies were noted for some constituencies and the local authorities in Kavango West, Ohangwena, Khomas, Umsati, Oshkoto, Ochodonjupa, Kunene, and Erongo regions, impacting the quantities required at specific polling stations in these regions. I also want to inform the nation that all the ballot paper discrepancies had been rectified and the correct amount of ballot papers were delivered on 18 November 2025 at the Hosea Kutako International Airport. All the costs of printing and delivering the rectified ballot papers were borne by the contracted supplier. Having said that, I also want to inform the nation that the consignment was subsequently transported to ECN logistics stores under police escort for verification, allocation, and packing according to their respective constituencies and local authorities. This process commenced on same day, the 18th November 2025, in the afternoon, in the presence of the representatives of political parties, organizations, associations, and independent candidates, and was completed by the end of same day. The Commission has also identified a few duplicate ballot books in excess of the required quantities, which are now stored and sealed in ballot boxes, and representatives of political parties, organizations, and associations represented at the ECN logistics stores have affixed their seals. These ballot boxes will remain sealed, and as per the norm, the Commission will determine the date of disposal in consultation with the PLC members. I now move to the dispatch of the sensitive election materials to the regions or remaining region. The Commission, in the presence of the representatives of the political parties, organizations, associations, and candidates who participated in the verification process, successfully dispatched sensitive materials under police escort to Zambezi, Kavango, East, Omaheke, Hardap, Taras, Oshana regions between the period of the 9th to the 17th November 2025, as they were not affected by the identified discrepancies. Equally, the Commission, in the presence of the representatives of the political parties, organizations, associations, and the candidates who participated in the verification process, successfully dispatched sensitive material on the 19th November 2025 to the following regions. And these are now the remaining regions after rectification of the discrepancies. That is Kavango West, Ohangwena, Komas, which is local, Omsati, Oshkoto, Ochodonjupa, Kunene, and Erongo region. And this was also done under police escort. As you are talking, all our sensitive materials are at all regional depots or police stations. Verification of sensitive materials took place at all regional police stations on arrival in the respective regions. These election materials are safely stored at the police stations until the day of deployment, which is on the 23rd November 2025, in preparation for special voting on the 24th November 2025, and on the 24th to the 25th November 2025, in preparation for the main election day, which is on the 26th November 2025, as we all know by now. Equally so, the Commission also dispatched all non-sensitive materials to all regions across the country to be deployed together with sensitive election materials. I now move to the gazettement and publication of the names of duly nominated candidates. Following the completion of the nomination process, the Commission commenced with the process of gazetting the names of candidates duly nominated for the regional councils and the local authority elections. The names of candidates were published following the gazettement, the Government Gazette Notice number 310 and Government Gazette number 8 8790 in respect of members of regional councils and government notice number 300 or 311 in Government Gazette number 8791 in respect of members of local authority councils dated 21st November 2025, both of them. I now move to accreditation of observers and the media. I'm pleased to inform the nation that the application process for accreditation as election observers and media commenced on the 1st September 2025 and closed on the 31st October 2025 as indicated in our electoral calendar. This was done in accordance with Section 56 of the Electoral Act. However, the Commission gave extension to allow election observers and the media to still submit their accreditation applications before the voting day. To date, we have 4 local observers, 9 embassies accredited to Namibia, 10 media houses, and 2 freelance journalists who have been successfully accredited to observe and cover the elections. I now move to the recruitment and training of polling officials. The Commission has shortlisted and trained over 21,000 unemployed Namibians for consideration for the positions as polling officials, of which majority are the youth. The training commenced on the 7th of November 2025 and concluded on the 15th November 2025 at the designated clusters across the country. All registered candidates or shortlisted candidates were assessed, and only those that scored 60% pass rate and above have been considered for appointment as polling officials as per ECN recruitment policy. All successful candidates are ready for deployment on the 23rd November 2025 in respect of special voting, and on the 24th to the 25th in respect of main voting day on the 26th. The Commission has also trained and appointed 120 constituency returning officers and 59 local authority returning officers. Overall, the Commission has recruited, as I indicated, over 21,000 election officials for the conduct of the 2025 regional councils and the local authorities elections. I now move to securing of transport, equipment, and the materials. As part of its policy, the Commission has secured vehicles, generators, tents, chairs, and tables from members of the public to supplement on what we have already in terms of transport, equipment, and these materials. In respect of transport, the Commission requires 5,300 vehicles across the country, with the process of allocation is at advanced stage, and all arrangements are in place for deployment on the 23rd November and 24th to the 25th November 2025 for the 2 days of voting that I have already shared with you earlier. In terms of equipment and materials, the Commission approached members of the public, as I indicated earlier, To supplement the resources at our disposal in terms of these categories of equipment or materials, and all arrangements are equally in place for deployment on the 24th to the 25th November 2025 in respect of the main voting day on the 26th November 2025. In addition, the Commission has secured helicopters and boats from the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs to airlift and ferry election officials going to hard-to-reach and flood-prone areas, particularly in Kunene and Zambezi regions. Allow me now to move to the issuance of duplicate voters registration cards. The Commission has commenced with the issuance of duplicate voter cards in the 120 constituencies and 59 local authorities to be contested in accordance with Section 35 of the Electoral Act. The process started on the 17th November 2025 and it will end on the 23rd November 2025, which is tomorrow, a day before the special voting day kicks in. What is the eligibility for special voting? The eligibility to obtain a duplicate is limited to those who have lost, misplaced, or have their cards damaged. Nothing else. No new cards, is only duplicate. But of course, we want to urge the registered voters over there to take care of their voter cards. Because if a voter card is lost the day after tomorrow, you will have no opportunity to get a duplicate because the law is very specific. It will only end tomorrow. I now move to special voting day. Special voting days refers to provisions in the law allowing certain category of voters to cast their votes outside the regular polling station or polling day. In terms of Section 98(2) of the Electoral Act, as I indicated earlier, the eligibility of special voting is restricted to voters employed as election officials and police officers who will be deployed outside their constituency on voting day, which is on the 26th November 2025. This is to allow them to cast their vote within their constituencies before they are deployed. What is required? Voters in this category are required to present to the presiding officer a written authorization issued by the Chief Electoral and Referenda Officer, and their names must be included in the list of voters entitled to vote during special voting day. I must say that all the arrangements in this regard are in place. As provided for in Section 98 of the Electoral Act, voting will commence at 9 o'clock or 900 hours and closes at 1900 hours on 24th November 2025. Unlike in the case of the main election day, when the voting is starting at 7 o'clock until 2100 hours. Come Monday, those specific established polling stations will open at 9 o'clock and will close at 1900 hours. The Electoral Act further directs that counting of votes cast on special voting day will be only counted after the close of the poll of the election day, which is the 26th November 2025. After the conduct of the poll on the 24th November 2025, all ballot boxes will be sealed, transported to the respective polling stations for safekeeping until the day of the election, which is the 26th. Verification of voters. As a requirement, the Commission will deploy a voters register to enable verification of voters at all polling stations using integrated mobile voter registration system devices. These are the devices that we have deployed last year. These are the same devices that we deployed when we conducted the 7th by-elections this year. 1 in January, 5 in June, and 1 in September. This system allows for biometric voter identification as well as manual verification on embedded manual voters register on both the special voting day as well as on election day. We are going to deploy the same devices on the 2 days to allow and facilitate the verification of the voters. I now move on the deployment of polling teams. The Commission will commence with the deployment of the teams on the 23rd November 2025 in respect of special voting on the 24th November 2025, and as from the 24th to the 25th November 2025 in respect of the main voting day on 26th November 2025. Why do we start on the 24th to the 25th? Because we have some teams that are going to hard to reach areas. We need to deploy them at least 2 days before the polling day to make sure that come on the election day, all is in place. I now move on the polling. The Commission has established 2,894 teams to serve 4,861 polling stations to ensure accessibility to voting. We have already distributed the polling station lists in all the platforms, being print media, being the social media, being on our webpage, and we still have hard copies that we further distribute to those who need. This saw an increase of 373 teams compared to 2,521 established in 2024. This is to make sure that we have enough, particularly the fixed polling stations. We have reduced the mobile teams, particularly in urban areas, and we increased the fixed polling stations to make sure that the voters have access to polling stations, and we urge our registered voters to visit or to go to all established polling stations in their respective constituencies. This year's elections, we are required to vote within our constituencies and local authorities. Unlike last year, where you vote at any polling station in any constituency in any region. For this year's elections, you vote within your constituency or local authority, but of course, the law says, okay, you can still vote at any polling station within your constituency and local authority. Polling will open at 7 o'clock and will close at 9 o'clock in the evening. But of course, the law is very clear. Anybody, not anybody, any registered voter who will be found on the queue come 9 o'clock, the team will make sure that these voters are assisted until they cast their vote. Only thereafter, they will be able to close the poll. But of course, the police will stand at the back on the last person to make sure that nobody enters the polling station come 9 o'clock. But whoever, all registered voters that will be found on the queue come on that voting day, they will be assisted. And this was communicated accordingly to all our polling officials. I now move to voting and counting of results. In terms of the Electoral Act, voting and counting processes remain manual, and importantly, both voting and counting will take place at the same polling station in the presence of election agents of political parties, organizations, associations, and candidates as required by the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act requires that all participants in the elections must appoint election agents. So this reinforces our transparency, immediate counting, and announcement of preliminary election results at all polling station level, and this will also be displayed or posted immediately at polling stations after the announcement. Collation centers. The Commission has established a total of 120 collation centers in all 120 constituencies and 59 collation centers in all 59 local authorities to be contested. As I indicated earlier, that all 59 local authorities will be contested, and only 120 constituencies that will be contested. Hence, the need for these collation centers. The purpose of establishing a collation center is really to allow returning officers, number one, to verify, collate, and announce election results at constituency and the local authority level, and transmit collated preliminary election results to central election result as required by the Electoral Act. The Central Election Results Center. As we move close to the polling process or voting process, the Commission will establish a CERC, a Central Election Results Center, at the Election House to facilitate the receipt, verification of preliminary election results to be submitted by the returning officers from all established collation centers in constituencies and local authorities being contested. Upon verification process, the Commission will announce and release final election results using various platforms established. Which one are these? We'll have the election result management website, which can be accessed on www.elections.na, and the mobile app, downloading of which all of us are required to download in our smartphones through the App Store and Android. These platforms will be available as from Monday, the 24th November 2025, in preparation for the election day. Safety and security. The Commission, in collaboration with the Namibian Police, has put all arrangements and necessary measures in place to ensure safety and security of the staff, electorate, election materials, and equipment before, during, and after elections. As the standing arrangements, the Namibian police will deploy 2 police officers per polling team to ensure safety and security of our polling officials, as well as law and order during the entire polling process. This is the account so far what we have traveled in terms of preparation for the voting day on the 26th November 2025, preceded by the special voting on the 24th November 2025. This means the Commission, having all these activities executed, it demonstrates the preparedness of the Commission. Let me thank you for listening to me, and I wish all the best as we prepare for casting our votes on the 24th on special voting and on the 26th November 2025 for all of us who are not part of special voting. I thank you.